Hello, and welcome to All Things Aviation and Aerospace. I'm your host, Vince Mickens, and as you all know, this podcast is all about showcasing the plethora of opportunities as well as encouraging and taking in consideration the endless possibilities available in commercial and private aviation, not to mention the aerospace industry. But most importantly, regardless of your skill set, no matter what your talent is, or if you simply like the idea of being in and around aviation, I guarantee you that there's something out there for you. So I ask that you please keep in mind as I'm regularly putting out new information and making it available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as posting it on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So I have one of my favorite guests today who has been on this show a couple of times and always brings a lot to the table. Get it? To the table? Yeah, you'll see why I said that. Anyhow, as successful as she is, though, she prides herself in giving back, in spreading the good word about the great career private aviation catering is, and enlightening, supporting, and encouraging the next generation of in-flight culinary experts. Kind of thing I just made up. Young Park is the founder and executive chef of First Chime. I love the name of your company. She has a resume of accomplishments that would, well, probably take me most of this show to share with you. Young has worked alongside some of the best in the culinary industry. She is as passionate as they come about her world of private aviation catering. Young Park, welcome back to All Things Aviation and Aerospace.
Hello, thank you very much for having me again.
It's great to have you. So you're on a cruise ship right now?
Yes, it was a family trip. I could not refuse. It's my son's wedding anniversary, and he invited all family members. So, yeah, I came on board on a
So,
different vessel.
yeah, that's pretty cool that you could join us though from a cruise ship. But it made me think of something, especially since we're getting ready to talk about catering and you know all of the things that go with that. And I was like, okay, so can Young be on a cruise ship and go to restaurants and cafes and room service and all of that and just relax and enjoy and not analyze the food,
Yeah,
the service, the plating, all those kind of things?
yeah. I mean, aside of being with your family, I mean, there's just endless food supplies. It's like from the morning you wake up until the day until you go to sleep. I mean, the food is available. It's like, oh my God, it's a lot of food all day long. But the food is pretty good. Yeah, I can complain.
Yeah, I was messing with you about it because as a pilot, whenever I'm sitting in the cabin of a plane, whether it's an airline or private or whatever, I'm paying attention to everything that's going on, and I know what the pilots are doing up front. And so I hear when the landing gear is going up and down, or when they're changing the flap settings or things like that. And I wondered if the same thing happened to you in the catering world. So anyhow,
Well,
that was.
I'm actually looking forward to this chef's table. I think I want to try it. I never tried a chef's table on the cruise ship. So I'm thinking about doing it tomorrow before I go home.
Cool. So
Yeah.
listen, let's move on into the show. I just wanted to to put a bug in your ear about that. So one of the things I like to do on this show is what I call or kind of labeled as live mentoring. The concept is having an iconic aviation professional like you, Young, share your insight with some aspiring young aviation professionals, allowing them to ask some questions about their culinary future and that even though they have worked extensively with you, they may or may not have some more questions that come to mind as we do this show. And you have two really great proteges that are joining us today. First, we have Kailyn Williams, who graduated last year from the DuVal High School Aerospace Engineering and Aviation Technology program, and she is currently pursuing a degree in aviation with a concentration in professional pilot training at Delaware State University. This next part is pretty interesting to me She's aspiring to be a C-17 pilot in the United States Air Force. What's got my attention about that is she's very specific about the aircraft she wants to fly at such a young age. So, Kailyn, I'd like to welcome you to the show. And what's up with the C-17?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really delighted to be here. The thing with the C-17 is I used to do JROTC when I was in high school, and
Ah,
my
junior
instructor,
ROTC. Okay.
yes, so my instructor, he was in the Air Force Academy. He used to want to be a pilot, and we took this field trip, and it was just this big aviation thing at the Andrews Air Force Base, and we just got to see a whole bunch of planes. And at the time, I knew I wanted to be a pilot, but I didn't know specifically what I wanted to fly. But I got to take a tour in the C-17, and then I just saw it, and it just was so beautiful. And most people, like, when they want to join the military, they want to fly fighter jets, and that's cool, but that's not really my thing. So when I saw it, I was like, okay, this is something I really want to do. This is the plane I really want to fly.
No, that's very cool. That's a great response, by the way, to share that with me. Well, welcome to All Things Aviation and Aerospace. Very glad to have you. Also with us is Christian Gray. He's a freshman at Frederick Community College who's actually majoring in business and plans to transfer to a 4-year once he completes that 2-year associate degree. Christian is actually on staff and has been for about a year at First Chime. And Christian, you and I have had a chance to talk a little bit before at the Career Expo, but it's great to have you on this show and for what we're going to do today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's really cool to be here.
Really cool to have you guys. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Of course, I'm always looking forward to conversations with Young because she always has something that she's going to put in there that we're all going to go, yeah, only Young would have said that. So,
Is it good or bad?
yeah, Young, let's start out by we'll talk throughout the show about your background, but let's start out by talking about your mentoring and you're coming up with this, these internships and these opportunities for young people straight out of high school, basically, that are, they're still going to college, but you have put together something that they really are benefiting from. And we have two different scenarios here, which I'll stand corrected on if I'm saying this wrong, but Christian is kind of like in a zone for in-flight catering. I mean, that's what he wants to do and that type of thing. Where Kailyn, you're actually wanting to be a professional pilot, but yet here you are also in the catering realm. So let's deal with all of that.
Yeah, so initially, Kailyn is our scholarship winner. I established the scholarship after my brother suddenly passed away. It was very untimely death, and I wanted to do something meaningful to remember him. And I thought about a lot of things, and then it was actually a conversation with a pilot when we were discussing how this trend of catering is moving towards a lot of flight attendants and the crew members, they pick up food from the grocery stores and take care of the catering. Some companies will prefer that, some companies don't. It really is depend on who you're working for. But
Sure.
using my beloved sibling due to unsafe food, I thought it would be meaningful to offer the scholarship to remember him, but also offer an internship so that they get to see how the food is prepared in aviation, how the safe food is provided and delivered to the aircraft. So that's how it all started. And while
That's
I was,
beautiful.
yeah, so while I was, thinking about so many things, what can I do? I thought about planting a tree in his name, but it didn't really seem to hit the core, the subject that I wanted to tackle, which was to somewhat re-educating process about
Hmm.
the food and the catering itself. And then one of the pilots said, well, so what do you think is a solution? I was like, well, that's a good question. And the first thing that popped into my mind was education. Maybe
Sure.
more learning process will kind of enlighten more information to a lot of people about the food and the food safety in general. So that's how it all started. And Caitlin was our scholarship winner, and Christian came on board because I also do the mentorship for the local high school, and he was attending a culinary classes at Frederick High, and I do the culinary mentorship, and that's how we met. And then he came on board as our crew member, and he's been doing a fantastic job. I can't say enough about how wonderful he is. Yeah.
Yeah, and Christian was telling me that he actually kind of came on board probably at the most entry level position you could, which is dishwashing, but at the same
Yeah.
time same time transitioning into learning how to cook and to be a prep cook, which is what he does right now, he said, and things like that. So, Christian, on that note, tell us a little bit about, first of all, in reading your background and everything, you've been interested in this for a long time. But did you even know that there was an opportunity of what we call in-flight catering or private aviation catering?
Oh, not at all. No. I
So
had
how did
no
how
clue.
did you discover it? Tell us about that path and what you think of what you're doing now?
So I discovered this, like Chef said, she goes to like the my old high school, and she would do like mentoring. She would kind of show us a little bit of the food that she prepares for the in-flight catering, and she told us about this internship that she wanted to start. And me and my one friend were really interested in it, so we both wanted to start. So we talked to her, and I was fortunate enough to actually be able to start this kind of like internship slash job. And that's when I kind of learned about this business of in-flight catering. I had zero clue that there was a like multiple companies too that cater to private jets. I had no clue that was a thing. I figured they just grab food and bring it with them or something. I did not
Stop
know
by
at
your
all.
nearest McDonald's? No. Yeah.
Yeah, just they just go pick up their own food or something. I had no clue there was like a this much level of
Christian, you're
detail
not
and
alone. Most people think that.
yeah. But yeah, it wasn't until I met Chef and she explained the business a little bit more. I met with her at First Chime when they're like still making like setting up a little bit more here in Frederick, and they she told me about the business and it seemed really interested, and I started, and here I am still.
So give us an example of some of the early things that you learned as you started to transition into cooking and prepping and things like that. What were some of the tech? I'm not trying to get down into the weeds with it, but just give us an overall picture of that, of what you do.
I definitely my I would say knife skills for one definitely got a lot better. We learned a little bit in the culinary class, but that is something that I've been able to expand more on is my knife skills when cooking, and then also a lot of more detail work. That because that's a big thing with First Chime is very detailed, very fine work. So I've been able to kind of work on that a lot more with Chef and kind of learn how to be more I guess what's like, more artistic with it, I guess.
Okay, in terms of the look and everything?
Yeah.
Yeah, got you. And how about you, Kaylin? Your situation is a little different. You got first of all, you tell us about the scholarship and how that came about, and then your intro into catering.
For me, when I was in high school at the time, my teacher, she pretty much showed us the scholarship opportunity through the Career and Aviation Expo. And I was like, okay, this can't hurt. So I had to write an essay. So I wrote the essay basically pretty much on my love of aviation and how what really got me into aviation, pretty much long story short, I was going on a trip to Florida and I was just really scared because I've never been on an airplane before. But I took the risk, I took the chance, and then I realized that okay, this is what I want to do with my life. So I decided to write the scholarship, write my essay, and then we went to the career expo, and they called my name, and I was so shocked because I didn't know. I didn't think I was gonna actually win. So I met with Chef, I met her husband, and it was just a wonderful experience. Just kind of like what Christian said, I really knew nothing about in-flight catering. I didn't know it was a thing. Um, I don't know how they got the food on there, but I just thought, okay, maybe they had a secret compartment at the bottom of the plane, and maybe that's how they got the food there.
Have
So,
you always had an interest in cooking though? Because that's, I mean, you're putting meals together for
right,
passengers.
right. So my dad, he definitely taught me how to cook. So I've always been a pretty good cook. So when, I got this scholarship, I was like, okay, this may not be, exactly what I want to do in my career, but I feel like it doesn't hurt to learn other things because it's more to aviation than just being a pilot. It's more to aviation than just flying planes and taking people to where they want to go. So, I made the most of it with my situation. It was a wonderful experience.
Has it had an impact on your thinking about going towards a professional pilot career? Do you see yourself making any kind of a shift?
I don't know about that because, I really love to
It's like,
fly,
no,
but
I'm still going to fly planes.
yes, but maybe something on the side. But I will say that interning with Chef really has honed in on attention to detail, especially like, if you have aspirations of being a pilot, you're going to have that attention to detail. And I feel like I definitely learned that while I was interning with Chef.
Yeah, so that's great because what you're saying is doing this in in-flight catering brings out some of the things, attention to detail, probably certain disciplines. Let Young expand on that.
So they both have a very unique high quality in each one of them. What was wonderful about Kailyn is that they both know what they want to do. Maybe in-flight catering is not the end goal, but they really dedicated themselves to learn, to get something out of this experience. What was wonderful about Kailyn was the dedication of her mother. Believe it or not, her mother was very, very dedicated. They were living about an hour away, but they didn't miss. She would not let Kailyn miss any time in the kitchen because it was the internship. And then Kailyn's attitude was, well, I want to know everything. I want to know as much as I can, anything in regards to aviation. And I thought that was very admirable of her to have an open mind because a lot of times they'll be like, I've seen some young people say, well, I want to be a pilot and this is what I'm going to do. And they have this tunnel vision of like this pilot route. Whereas Kailyn was open to any possibilities and she actually believed whatever I do, that is connected to aviation, it will be a learning experience for me.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
I
so
was
for
just going
her,
to say that's a great thing on her part to recognize that what she's learning in terms of in-flight catering, all the disciplines that go with it, can contribute to what she's going to be learning as she goes through her professional pilot training.
exactly. That's a very kind of mature way of thinking at her age at the time.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
same goes to Christian. He's um, his commitment to the job, not only to the company that he works for, but himself spending a time on his job. It is a very, very strong. He has a very strong work ethic and he pursues the best, which I think is a very, very how can I say, it's an important quality that you don't really get to see from a lot of young people. It
And
seems
especially from a demanding chef like you.
but it is true. Yeah, our work is something I don't think it will be ever replaced by AI or robots. There's too much of change. Everything changes. It's aviation. Planes don't take off, planes get delayed, and we have to work accordingly. And for you to meet that demand, you have to have an excellent problem solving skill. And Christian is very, very good with that. He's very quick. He's extremely smart, both of them. But what's wonderful about Christian is that how committed he is, and he never miss a day. He doesn't call off sick. It is a fundamental quality that a lot of people are looking for as an employer. They both definitely have it.
Absolutely, yeah, and you know, you were talking about some of the dynamics of how and the fluidity of our industry and how
Mhm.
things change. A flight's going to be longer than originally planned, or it's going to start, it's going to take off earlier or later than intended. And as an in-flight catering company, you have to make those adjustments and
Yeah,
have the flexibility.
and especially thinking ahead and plan for plan B to C. Those are something, it has to happen to you for you to get used to it. And fortunately for Christian, it's happening for him every day he comes to work.
Yeah. Well, I would also imagine, in a compliment to him and to Kaylin, the other thing that happens is that you get a last minute, order for something and have to figure out how to make that happen. And then a lot of times it's very customized and specific to the
Mhm.
passengers that are going to be on board. Tell us a little bit about that.
Of course, the issue is the time management. Everything just has to be in line. Sometimes we have this like slew of orders, and then the last minute order gets added on. And then I always ask, well, what do you think? Can we do it? Sometimes I make my own decisions. Sometimes I ask them. I didn't really hear them saying, no, we can't do it. No, we don't want to do it. Their will to make it happen is there, which I really appreciate. And then for them to make that happen, they have to do a certain time management, and it seems to be working for us at First Chime, which I'm very grateful. And for that young group of people to have that kind of work ethic, which I keep emphasizing, I think is a valuable quality that can help them in any career.
Christian, you've been at First Chime for a little over a year. What kind of things have you learned along with what we've been talking about that really have had an impact on you in terms of what you see in your future?
Um, Definitely kind of like what Chef said with the whole like, or what you guys were talking about with like unexpected orders kind of coming up. I feel like the whole trying to manage your time and having unexpected things kind of pop up and you having to like find like a situation or a solution for it. That is, I feel like kind of fit more into my everyday life now, where when things kind of happen, my brain kind of starts turning a little bit quicker to find, can I do it? How can I do it? In what way will I do it? Stuff like that.
What do your friends tell you when you tell them, "Yeah, I do in-flight catering. I work for this company called First Chime, and we do the catering for private jets." What kind of response do you get?
It's pretty much the same thing every time. It's really that's a thing, and I'm like, yeah, yeah. Most of
Exactly.
them are just like really confused about it at first. And I'm like, yeah, it's a real thing, and it's pretty neat. They always find it pretty interesting and pretty cool.
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons I think that yeah, Young goes to the schools and lets you guys know about it so that she can get more people in that aspect of our industry. It's kind of an unsung hero that part of our industry. It's almost taken for granted. And it wasn't until I met Young and had a few other conversations with folks that do the same thing that I even had an appreciation for how intricate it is in terms of what has to be done and the biggest part is the passenger preference, whether they want something totally customized or whether they're good with a sandwich or and there's so many variations of that. Hey Kaylin, how about you? What kind of response do you get when you tell people what you've done or what you're doing?
Told people about like the scholarship. It's kind of like what Christian said. They're like, "Oh, really? This is actual thing?" Like just kind of like what you said, it's kind of very lucrative. Like not a lot of people really know that the time, the effort, the dedication that really goes into making sure that all the orders are correct, making sure that everything is packaged correctly, making sure it looks good. Because I learned from Chef that it's not also about the taste. Like people eat with their eyes, so it's also important to make sure everything looks good before you take that bite and then it tastes good. For the pilot aspect, when I tell my friends that, or anybody that I'm flying, they're like, oh, wow. Because even with aviation, even with flying, it's not a lot of us. Like, it's not a lot of pilots that look like me, talk like me, have the same background as me. So that kind of just pushes me even more to be able to do what I love to do and to be an inspiration for other, aspiring pilots or even people in the aviation industry that look like me.
Yeah. Young, it's really admirable that you bring these kids in and give them some direction and that type of thing. And I think what's really cool is somebody like Kailyn that has a little bit different track, but also appreciates what your company does and what your part of the industry is and that type of thing. When you go to the high schools and talk to these kids, what are some of the things that you share with them to entice them to consider this? I didn't know it was a thing.
That's a difficult one. It really depends. The young people, like high school students, are a bit more open to any ideas, really. They're more perceptive. They have an easier time accepting, I think, because their curiosity is still kind of sparkling. They're still curious about a lot of things. And then we go on to college level, and of course we do some college students scholarships too, but by then they already know what they want to do. If they want to be a chef, a lot of times they're thinking of restaurants, hotel, so their expectation of food industry or catering, it is pretty much limited at the point. It's really only a difference of a year, but how open they are, it makes a very big difference.
Sure. Hey, this is a good time, Young, for you to tell us a little bit more about your background. Um, you've had quite the path to get where you are. And you started from a very humble beginning and have worked your way all the way to what you're doing today. So tell us a little bit about that.
Beginning started at the commercial aviation. I got hired as a flight attendant at Transport Airlines, TWA. And then TWA was merging with American Airlines, and that's when the 911 happened. So, of course, a lot of us lost our job. We got furloughed. So I went to American Eagle, which was a regional airlines for American Airlines. And then after that, I moved on to this. Actually, that's when I discovered private aviation. But I didn't know how to get into it. I wasn't sure about it, but I sort of kind of started trying to break into the industry. But it took me nearly 3 years to get into private aviation. Back then, it was not open to a lot of people. They kind of kept it private for real. And then
Best kept
after
secret.
Oh yeah, it was. It was at the time. Now it's very. It sort of kind of became a general information. A lot of people are aware of it, but it was back then. It was extremely exclusive. It was extremely difficult to get into. And then I moved on to another airlines. It was like a all business class scheduled operation called MaxJet, and that was my last commercial company that I worked for. And then I went into this private aviation. I worked for this individual who actually owned his own aircraft. And then I started as a contract flight attendant. So when you're a contract flight attendant, you are not bound. You're not a full-time employee of anybody. You basically work for yourself.
Set
I
your
just
own
had
schedule.
Yeah. I just worked. I mean, it took me a year or two for me to have like a regular gigs, but at my prime time, I was working for like five, six different companies. You couldn't keep me on the ground. And then I got to the point like, is this all I have? I think I got to at the highest of where I could go as far as being a contract flight attendant. And that's when the opportunity to open the catering company in Korea popped up. There was a Winter Olympic that was happening in Korea, and I something just told me that was for me, and I needed to do something. So I opened a company, and then it was very successful. It was very successful. So I built a new uh, kitchen in Gangnam, and a month after we moved in, COVID happened.
Oh
So
gosh.
yeah, and then Korea was the epicenter at the time. So I saw something bad was coming. It was before the quarantine or nothing, but looking at what's going on in Korea, I thought if this thing land in US, it's gonna be a big problem. So I closed the business right away, cashed out, opened the smallest, basically a ghost kitchen. That's how I started.
Okay.
My thing was, yeah, my thing was to maintain the business as long as the pandemic, was there. And fortunately, we got out of it. And last year or a year or two, we moved into the new location, and that's when I start actively hiring. So here we are.
What's the secret behind the name First Chime?
Okay, well, a lot of people ask, so when you get on an airplane, you taxi out and then you take off, and then when the plane reaches the cruising altitude, ding, you hear the first chime. That is a signal for the flight attendants to safe to get up, not for the passengers, but the flight attendants to get up and proceed to galley to prep the service. So
Right,
I
exactly.
thought it was a good name for a catering company.
Why not? No, it's
I
a clever first name.
Yeah, private or commercial, first chime thing, you get up and you go to the galley and start preparing for the service.
Kaylin, if you're talking to one of your friends at school or whatever, and you kind of are telling them what you've done at First Chime as an intern on that scholarship program or whatever, what and you see it piques their interest. What would you say to them to encourage them to pursue it further?
If you were interested, honestly, I would just ask if I could have them get in contact with Chef, just to see if maybe there's like a spot open or just something that they could do just to maybe talk to Chef and learn more about it, like which route they should be able to take or just, so they can have more information. Because just kind of like what we've been talking about, not a lot of people know about it. So she's my connection to it. And if I have a friend that's in need or wants to know more about it, I would just connect them to her.
Yeah. So, one of the things that's really cool about what you've done in your pursuit of being a professional pilot is when you're up front, you're always going to kind of know what's going on in the back because you'll have perspective on it that not everybody, not even every pilot has. I think that's pretty neat. Christian, how about you? What the same question. If you had some friends that said, "Oh, it's kind of cool. I might be interested in that." What would you tell them? And you're in the mix right now.
Honestly, probably similar. I mean, if they really wanted to know more in depth and detail, I would I would try to connect them to Chef or her husband because they truly know the business. They know both commercial and private. So, I mean, I could give them a little bit of background on the catering itself, but I would definitely do what Kaylin said and kind of connect them to Chef.
Yeah. Young, what are some of the things that so say there's somebody that really likes culinary, they like cooking and that type of thing. They've discovered that this is a really neat career choice, so to speak, and they want to start, besides wanting to connect with someone like you, but they want to start preparing or studying some things or doing some things. I guess what I'm trying to say is, what are some of the things you would recommend that they focus on as they move towards trying to do in-flight catering?
If Well, the first thing I would tell them is whatever you know about conventional food business, ditch it. This is
Throw it
a
out the window.
whole this is a whole different ballgame. If conventional food business or catering is like an animal, in-flight catering is a mutated monster with five heads. I mean, it
Oh my
is
God.
extremely tough. Yeah, for that, I mean, I have to give credit to Christian and Kaylin both. Not even a lot of adults can take it because it's so volatile. I mean, not every day is the same. Not every order is the same. We get a different order every day. We do have our menu, and a lot of customers will order from our menu, but 90% of our clients, they already know what they want. They are on strict diet. Some are allergic to certain things. You just have to be prepared for that. So if you're used to, okay, this is our menu and this is what we cook, it is not like that at all. Every day is different. So that will be the first thing that I will say. Second will be to you have to have the stamina to keep going, because things are so different. If you're expecting the same sort of kind of plateau everyday routine, this could be extremely challenging. So if you love adventure, if you want to experience new thing, if you would like to challenge your own skill set and get to the next level, this will be a very good opportunity.
Okay, so those are some of the things that you feel are the most important. You know, one of the things that you
It's not all that bad all the time. It's not all that bad.
I don't know, you just scared me. No, I'm just kidding. But one of the things that you have emphasized, and I've actually heard this from a number of private aviation catering companies, is safety, food safety, and it can, I know for a fact that it can be challenging because of the time between when it's prepared and how it's prepared to when it's, then delivered on the aircraft and things like that. What are some of the things that you feel are really key about that and that are key for young people entering the business to be prepared to learn, or that need to be taught?
Well, the fresh ingredient will be a very important aspect of safe food. I mean, we were a boutique catering to begin with, so we cannot really order like box full of broccolis or box full of tomatoes. We shop pretty much every day. So, a lot of times, like I'm out or Christian's out, somebody's out picking up some fresh produce. That will be, stock management, basically. That will be a very important thing for the food safety, and of course the quality of the ingredients. That is very important, like milk, juice, eggs, especially eggs. As common as it is very important to use. For me, it is very important to use good quality eggs.
Gotcha. Um, I wanted to go back to both of you, Christian and Kailyn. I'll start with you, Christian. Christian, where did the love for cooking and food come from?
I'm not actually sure. I've just really, for like the longest time, I've just really liked cooking. Anytime my mom or dad or like some sort of family member was like cooking, I always wanted to help, or I wanted to do it myself. I always liked cooking and just try like making new things and
Since you were
trying
very
food.
young?
Oh yeah, since almost as long as I can remember, I've just really liked cooking. I don't know where the aspiration came from. I just really liked doing it. I always thought it was fun. I always thought it was fun to cut things and cook it. I don't know. It just kind of just came to me.
And did you when did you think it was going to become something you wanted to actually pursue as a career? When was
I
that? When did
think
that
that
happen?
was more like late elementary or early middle school when I
Late
actually
elementary?
like maybe like fourth or fifth grade to like
That's
sixth
late
grade, like middle
elementary.
school.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's around that time is when I think that's when I especially wanted to uh do cooking, be like a chef. Uh that was I think when it really kind of more hit, and when that's like what I wanted to do for many years. Uh Now it's like, I've thought about other different like things, but that was when I think I first wanted to be like a chef or own my own restaurant or something like that.
So has private aviation catering kind of, I don't know, become what you thought it would be? Because you didn't know about it before. You thought what most people think that are into being a chef or cooking or whatever, and that are culinary, and that's either working in or owning a restaurant and things like that. Now that you're kind of starting to be deeply entrenched in private aviation catering, how are you looking at that career wise?
Um, well, I definitely didn't even like once I heard about this, it's definitely still different than what I thought. Like Chef was mentioning with the whole like, yeah, there's no specific set menu. and that was a lot different than I thought. I still thought we had like some more specific stuff they could order, but I didn't realize it can just be whatever random thing comes to their head. Um, but
Yeah,
it's definitely changed the way I've looked at the culinary business a lot. I've never thought about this even being an opportunity, but I think it's very eye-opening.
speaking of that, Young, do you guys kind of also create dishes that, it's not so much what somebody requests, but it's just coming up with a new idea for a new dish that then can be a part of your menu when it suits a certain passenger?
Yes, actually, this morning I was just thinking about breakfast canapé. How you can incorporate the sausage with the eggs and some pretty garnish. And that's the beauty of our business, especially at First Chime, because we are, bespoke private chef service rather than like catering. So yes, if Christian has a great idea, we'll soup it up, we'll put it on our menu, and I will actively market it on social media, or our website. Yeah, so I mean, our chef's idea, it is brilliant, at times, and if we like it, if we all agree that we can produce it on a long term, then yes, it goes on a menu.
So, Christian, do you have ideas that you come up with from time to time that you present to Chef?
I haven't really had many ideas that I've presented to Chef, no. I've had a few like personal ideas, but I'm keeping that to myself for later. But
Did you hear
What?
that, Chef? He's
keeping
holding
those
back. He's
those
holding
those are
back.
those are personal like ideas for like a restaurant, that's for me. But uh I've had like any ideas I've more had would be more something we already had and just kind of changing it slightly or doing something slightly differently. But I haven't really had anything like a new menu idea yet.
Yeah. So
So don't
that
feel
being
shy to
said,
let me
with your,
know.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said, don't feel shy to let me know.
She's trying to get it out of you, guy. Don't tell her. Don't
Yes.
tell her. No, no. What I was going to say to you though, Christian, is in terms of your career path, do you kind of see yourself maybe doing in-flight catering for a period of time and then eventually owning your own restaurant? Is that the kind of the path or goal you see at least at this point? I mean, I know it's still
Um,
early, so you know.
yeah. As of right now, I'm definitely planning to stick with this for a little while. Like I said, I'm in college right now. I'm doing business, and then after 4 years once I get my bachelor's degree, I wanted to go to law school for business law. So after I do that, I do want to start my own business. Whether it's in-flight catering or not, I'm not 100% sure yet. I would like to do something culinary wise. I do still like the culinary business, and doing this has definitely made me more into the culinary business. It's made me like it even more. But
Yeah.
I might go back into the in-flight catering. It is a fun thing to do, in my personal opinion.
Yeah. Well, you sound very smart because that's a smart path to learn business law. At the same time, you're learning the industry from a different perspective, but
Yeah.
nevertheless, and then kind of putting that all together and figuring out what that means in 6 or 8 years. So that's
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
whether Christian would like to stick with the catering business or not, I support him 100%. What I wish he will get out of this whole experience at First Time is to build a strategic thinking, the strategic thinking to get himself to the next level, because there's a similarity between how we take the order and then execute until the delivery. It's like the timeline has to be correct, how we plan our things to get to the delivery stage. It just has to be thought out, and I think that can be something that can be applied to any other area of business or studying. And if that becomes part of him and his way of thinking, I believe whatever he does, he will be successful in anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I was actually gonna go to I'm sorry, to Kailyn, because Kailyn, I wanted to ask you a similar question, but in a little different way. And first of all, going back to the creativeness of coming up with ideas and things like that, during your time of doing the in-flight, did you, and with your experience of learning how to cook from your dad and stuff like that, did it trigger you to think of ideas of, oh, we could maybe do this dish or things like that?
Yeah. During my internship, kind of like what Christian and Chef were saying, you're doing something new every time. So every weekend I would come and we would make chicken one day, crab cake another day. We would be Googling recipes. We would be chopping things. So I got a wide variety of, new ideas, new things. And actually, on my last day, I was actually able to cook for everybody. So that was also a wonderful experience. Like chef didn't help me. She just kind of left me alone. And I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? So I decided to make a salmon dish. It was salmon and it was asparagus. And then we also had mashed potatoes with like a lemon garlic butter sauce. So that's what
It
I
sounds
decided to
delicious
make.
so far.
Very good.
Yes. So yes, just like taking everything that I learned from there, it was just really positive and really helped me like just to think on my feet and just being able to kind of create something out of pretty much nothing.
Sure.
Yeah, but that's not only thing that Caitlin did. She was afraid of height. I made her go up on the ladder and take the containers from the shelf. So there were little challenges that she hasn't experienced before, and hopefully that those little things, but hopefully it helped you.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. I remember that.
Wait, she's not the only pilot afraid of heights. So, no, it's funny because I personally I happen to be afraid of heights too, but I don't think anything about it when I'm in a cockpit. So, or inside an aircraft, kind of a strange phenomenon. But the show is not about me. Hey, Young, one of the things that I was going to say is that you have a really high standard for what you do, and you have a reputation for that. It's very important for you on all aspects, whether it's the quality of the food, the taste, the plating, as well as the service in terms of delivering on time, meeting expectations or exceeding expectations. I know you, and I know that that's something that's ingrained in you and ingrained in your business. And I bring it up because I thought it was pretty interesting that you've had Michelin chefs work with you on some of what you do. Can you tell us a little bit about your thinking with that and why that's been so important to you?
Yeah, well, I had a very, very humble beginning. And one of the reason I am, actively pursuing a lot of mentorship for younger generation is because I never really had any mentor. I've been in the aviation business for over 20 years. And, there were a lot of people. Now I look back, there was a mentorship, but it was not a long term. I didn't have anybody I could call like, oh, this is my mentor. So knowing the importance of the mentor and knowing how much of mistakes that I have made that I could avoid if I was guided in the right direction. I think that's what kind of made me harsh on myself. And then, you know, because I had to provide, basically. I was a single mother. So I had to do a good job. I had to maintain the workflow. That kept me on, a certain position in the industry. And it, basically got me to the point like I was refusing the trips because I couldn't cover anymore. And it got ingrained in me, pursuit of the best that I could do. And I think that kind of travels across the work that I do in the kitchen, from the appearance of the food to flavor to quality of the food, the quality of the ingredients. Ultimately, because I would like the flight attendant or the cabin server to be praised for what they do on board. That just means a lot to me personally, because I know what it's like to be the one who's handling the food on board. So that's my ultimate goal. And yeah, and now we have this two Michelin star in front of us. It puts a little bit more added pressure, but we just keep on doing what we do. We just have to be even more cautious, especially with presentation and the quality of the food. Yeah, so it was very interesting. Chef Pango, he got approached by a lot of businesses, and he basically turned them down. I said, no, 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 no. And then he came to visit us one day, and he was asking if he could see our kitchen. I was like, sure. And then that was really it. He said, we have the cleanest kitchen, and that's what really turned him on to working with us. And we've been blessed with his presence, and now Christian is taking advantage of him and his cuisine. Yeah.
Yeah, how about that? A clean kitchen
Yeah.
and a Michelin chef says, "Hey, you guys, I want to work with you." That's pretty
Yeah.
neat. Um,
Really.
Kailyn, I've been asking all the questions through this whole show, and part of this was to give you and Christian an opportunity to ask Young a question that maybe you guys haven't had a conversation about. Now,
Oh my
now, Kailyn, I know you did the internship and you're on in college and everything, but with all that we're talking about, particularly as it relates to in-flight catering, is there one question that you'd love to ask Young right now?
Like, only
Hello?
because only because everything that I did with Chef, she was just very open and honest with me about it. So I just nodded off the top of my head.
No, no, no. So you're saying she covered everything.
Yeah, pretty much.
I hope
How
so.
about you? Same question to you, Christian.
I don't think I have any questions right now. I've been asking her questions for a whole year, so I mean, uh, I'm pretty good at the moment.
I hear you.
Yeah.
So listen, as we kind of wrap things up, I like to kind of do a couple of things, and I'll start with you, Christian, and ask you to tell us. So, in terms of your peers, high school and college, that might have an interest, what's the primary advice you would give them moving forward into looking into a career? I know we talked about it a little earlier, but I want to kind of close out with that too.
Um, I don't know, maybe uh just like work hard with it. I mean, it can be a very demanding business. So just try to stick with it even when it gets a little hard or frustrating. I mean, it's gonna get that way at some point in time, but you got to just kind of work your way through it. It's not the smoothest thing to just hop right into. It's a bumpy ride. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, Young has paid quite the compliment to both you and Kaylin about your work ethic and your just the way that you guys um, deal with what this business is about and the challenges and things like that. It just sounds like you guys both, you currently and Kaylin during your internship, just kind of went with the flow and said, whatever the chef said we need to do, we're going to do it and we're going to do it to the best of our ability. Would that be a good description?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, just
Yeah.
which
Kaylin,
she's told me
same
to do
question to
something, I
you.
did it.
If I were to give any advice to like my fellow peers, I would just say just go for it. Like especially like with this career path, aviation, it doesn't really matter what you decide to do in aviation. It's a beautiful career. It's wonderful and it'll definitely open your life to many doors that you never knew were possible. So I would just say just do it. Like you never know. Let them tell you no. Just keep trying at it. Keep going for it. You just like you have to have that determination. You have to have that passion for it because it is tough. It is going to get tough. There's going to be nights where you're like, okay, can I really do this? Is this something for me? But you just have to realize, okay, you were put here for a reason. You're put here for a purpose. You just got to keep going at it, and it'll eventually work out.
Yeah. Young, one of the things I admire the most about you is your passion for the industry, your passion for what you do, and the fact that, you enjoy it. And you know what they always say, if you enjoy what you do, then it doesn't feel like work. And I truly believe that too. So I really admire you for that. As we wrap this up, what have you gotten the most out of all these years of what you've done, but particularly when you went into this realm of private aviation catering?
Um, it was definitely a new discovery for me, but it's been a while now. I look back, I started in 2017. That's when I actually started a company in Korea. So it's been a few years, but at this stage, what really makes me feel good about the whole thing is that I have a team of very sharp individuals. They're very just good people. And then working with young people, it just brings you a brand new energy. I could hire a lot of, older chefs, and that's given. It will happen. But to have this younger generation coming in, they bring you a brand new energy, and that the way they think that, like I already lived half a century, but these kids, they will come in and they will introduce you to these new ideas, new different things. It really opens my eyes and keeps me open to new ideas. Whereas,
Yeah.
working with already experienced people, we will just stick with it. And at some point, it could get stale. So, having young people as part of your group, I mean, you'll be surprised what kind of ideas they can present to you, and it could be very beneficial.
Yeah. I know you talk to Christian all the time and occasionally to Kaylin. Any final tips or words of advice you would share with them at this point?
I probably never told them this, but they both are very, very strong individuals. They have a very strong foundation to begin with, which I think is a huge advantage for them because they're already a young adult. They just have a few more years to kind of mature up as a adult. Maybe once they get out of college and stuff. But I think they have a very strong foundation to begin with, and with their focus, dedication, and commitment they already have to their own goal that they set, I have no doubt they will be, they'll be successful. They have to be with that enthusiasm in your own life. How can you not be? So just keep going and just stay focused, and you will get to the place you want to get very soon.
You hear that, guys? You're well on your way. And Kaylin, I expect to see you flying a C-17 one day. Uh,
Can't wait.
it's do you know who Teresa Claiborne is?
Not off the top of my head.
She's the first African American female pilot in the Air Force, and she flew transport aircraft. So the type of
Wow.
aircraft that you're interested in is what she flew, and then followed that with a 34-year career that she just retired from United Airlines flying 787. I know I can't remember if it's the 777 or 78. She's going to kill me for not having that right. But anyhow, a big airplane. So anyhow, but you both are definitely well on your way, and you've had a great mentor to work with and a great company. So consider yourself fortunate. But you're both very mature and have a really great perspective on the business and the industry and things like that. So I wish both of you the best. And I thank both of you for taking the time to be on All Things Aviation and Aerospace today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you
For having
so
us.
much.
Absolutely. And Young, it's always a pleasure. This is your third go around with me over the last 3 years on this show. So maybe fourth. Actually, this is the fourth. But anyhow, it's always great to have you. I wish you luck in the business continuing to grow
Thank
and totally appreciate your willingness to inspire, the next young aviation professionals. We have a great industry. There's a lot of opportunity in it, and the fact that you take the time and energy to, bring a few under your wing, so to speak, and help them determine their future. It's very admirable.
it's my pleasure, and hopefully I can do more in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, guys, you guys take care. And again, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good
You
one.
have a good one.
You've been watching and/or listening to All Things Aviation and Aerospace, executive produced by me, Vince Mickens, and is a production of the Private Air Media Group. If you like my content, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, or look for my posts on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. You know, private aviation in-flight catering is somewhat unique, but a very rewarding aviation career, as you've heard. It's an opportunity, and you know, it'll take you all over the world. I mean, and you'll meet some of the most interesting people, all under the auspices of culinary arts. So if you like traveling, you don't mind working hard, and things like that, then it's definitely worth considering and pursuing. Until next time, please stay safe, fly safe if you're a pilot like me. All the best, and blue skies. Take care, everybody.